Are you tired of feeling like your stomach has its own agenda? Like the bloating, gas, or constant trips to the bathroom are running your life? Welcome to the Beyond Bloated podcast, the podcast where we tackle those frustrating gut issues head on, without strict diets or giving up your favorite foods. I'm Carly, a certified gut health coach who's been there, struggling with bloating that made me look 6 months pregnant, gut pain that kept me from enjoying meals, and fatigue so draining it felt impossible to get through the day. Now, I help women like you find freedom from those symptoms and take back control of their lives. Each week, we'll debunk gut health myths, dive into simple, actionable tips, and hear stories from women who've been exactly where you are. It's time to feel confident, energized, and bloat-free. Let's get started. Hello. Welcome back to the Beyond Bloated podcast, or welcome for the very first time to the Beyond Bloated podcast. I've got a really good episode for you today, so I'm glad you've joined me. I haven't done an interview yet this year, I don't believe. So I've been slacking on my interview game, but I'm back. And I've got quite a few interviews lined up this month. So if you love when I interview super awesome guests, which of course you do, stay tuned because I've got quite a few coming up in the near future. I'm starting off strong today with a very powerful story of healing a lifetime of trauma from Jodi Geline. Jodi is a fellow health coach who helps women ditch their bloated bellies by working through their trauma and emotions. Because yes, the gut-brain connection is very real, my friends. If you don't believe me, believe Jodi, who looked 9 months pregnant every single day for 19 years. I don't want to give you any spoilers, but it was not a perfect diet or a crazy expensive supplement protocol that got her flat stomach back. Jodi is also the host of the Heal From Within series, which is a free online summit with over 25 speakers who are going to provide you with the deets on how to resolve your chronic health issue holistically. The summit will take place on April 4th through 10th, and it's completely online, and yours truly is going to be one of the speakers. So stay tuned for more info on that, as I will be sharing where you can sign up for free as we get closer to the event start date. The good news is that you don't have to wait until April to hear Jodi's incredibly inspiring story about how she overcame her chronic gut issues. So without further ado, let's give a big warm welcome to Jodi Geline. Thank you so much for joining us on the Beyond Bloated podcast today.
It's great to be here, Carly. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So as always, I love to give my guests the spotlight and start by letting us know, what was your own experience with gut health? What was your journey like?
Well, it was quite the journey, as I'm sure many people listening are on that journey. It was 19 years of severe digestive issues to the point I looked 9 months pregnant for 19 years. And it never went away in that whole time. Like, good days, bad days. No, they were all bad days. Yeah, it was crazy. Like it started right before I got married, and it was like off and on for a couple months. And then a couple months after I got married, boom, that was it. I'm somebody that studied health and self-development since I was like 22. And so that was just my passion. I was trying to overcome childhood trauma, and then health's just my thing. And, it's like I tried everything under the sun, and it was like, I should know this already, right? I'm like frustrated with myself. I haven't been able to figure it out. I did the diet, not diets. I always ate well, but I did the like barely eating kind of diets, like maybe rice and some vegetables, and I tried all of that. And it wasn't just the bloat, as like you get all these other symptoms. It's hours and hours and hours a day in the bathroom. It takes over your life. I remember sometimes it was so hard to stand up straight because there was so much pain in my gut and I couldn't breathe, because there's no room. There's just no room to breathe. And it was like I'm at an event and I'm like trying to look okay, but it was hard to stand up straight because I wanted to just crouch over, because of the pain. So, stuff like that, in a fetal position on the couch, just all that. And, embarrassment, wearing huge, big, baggy clothes because you're trying to hide and not realizing until later. It's like, oh, wow, the bigger the clothes you wear, the bigger you look. You don't realize it though, but you're just trying to hide. And so it's crazy because, understanding the emotional component now, it's like, oh, I was a hider when I was little from trauma. So I would hide, right? We try to keep ourselves safe. And here it is playing out later with the bloating and hiding under my clothes. And yeah, it was quite the journey. And it wasn't until I can look back now and go, oh, it started happening right when I was going to get married. I knew in the back of my mind it probably wasn't right for me, yet I did it, and then the body responds. And it was, 19 years, say 18 years later, 18 and a half, whatever, I started working on stress. I actually had a friend that I didn't know her super well, but she needed a place to stay. And so I'm like, well, you can stay with me, for, a short time. And she saw me, and I was a single mom, and I'm running around, working like crazy. We push and push and push, and we're working, not realizing the effect that it's having on us. And she's like, you need to slow down. You're going to kill yourself. And I said, slow down? Are you insane? I have a child, I've got to make ends meet. And, the whole story of why I can't slow down, just stressed to the max. But I knew she was right. In the back of my mind, I knew she was right.
I can't imagine living with that for 19 years. I mean, that's horrible. Yeah. I'm sorry you went through that.
Yeah.
I had my own gut issues for over 5 years, and that was bad enough.
Yeah.
I'm amazed that you persevered and you kept on trying, because if at 19 years, you might be like, you know what, this is normal. This is just how I live, bad genes, poor me. But you did come out the other side, which we'll get to. But I do want to touch on what you said about how your gut issues started right before you got married. So before that point, did you have regular digestion and everything was all good?
Yeah. As far as I remember, I'm like, no, I didn't have issues. I mean, not that I can remember. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Because I have talked before on the podcast about how emotions and trauma can trigger gut issues to begin. In my own life, I wasn't well, for sure, but it was when I started a job that I hated and I was miserable at every single day that my gut issues started. So for you, it sounds like right before you got married was your trigger. So can you expand a little bit on that for us?
Yeah. And I think for me, I believe that was not the last straw, but, having had childhood trauma, and then here I am going down a path I shouldn't be going down. And I think my body's like, that's it. Because your body's always speaking to you through symptoms. We don't learn this. I didn't know that at the time. I discovered it after I healed. It was like a big aha to me. But it's like, what happens is this trauma, and we all have had it in our lives in one way, shape, or form, because there's a lot in this world to deal with. And so if you don't process through those wounds, they're unresolved, unhealed wounds, and they get trapped in the body. And then something else happens, and then getting married. And so it's just another level of it. And then that's when the body starts screaming at you because you're not paying attention. And there's a deeper wound in there to heal. And it's really screaming at you to heal that wound.
Yeah, it is crazy how the body speaks to us. And you're right. Your symptoms are warning signs. It's your way of your body talking to you because it can't. I kind of think of a dog, and how a dog can't talk to you. So it whimpers or cries or does other things to get your attention. Your body's doing the same thing. It is giving you signs, warnings. It's like, hello, pay attention to me, look at me. Yes. How you are living is not working for you. So if anyone out there is thinking, you're broken or, you just have bad genes, bad luck. It's not true. You can be turned around. These are warning signs. These are good things. This means your body is actually working very well because it is letting you know, hey, we need to do something different. So that being said, once you picked up on those warning signs and you clued in, hey, this isn't normal. My body's talking to me. What action did you take?
Yeah. Well, and I didn't know my body was talking to me. So I'll tell you, and you alluded to this earlier, and I wanted to speak into it. It's like I never, ever gave up. The thought of giving up never occurred to me because I was determined I was going to figure it out. So that finally, I think that was part of it. It's like, no, I'm not living this way. No way. Not happening. So what happened was I had gotten a divorce, and I said I was a single mom at that time. I ended up getting in a relationship with a abusive narcissist. And of course, this is what happens is if we don't heal that deeper wound, and I had done a lot of self-development work. So it's not that I hadn't done anything, because I had done a lot and transformed quite a bit in my life already, but there was a deeper wound in there. And so being with this abusive narcissist was an experience that I guess I had to have because it's what made me heal deeper. So what happened was I hit a point where I just hit rock bottom in this relationship. And I was like, never again will I let a man abuse me. That was my thought, like in that moment when I was just done, I had abuse from men as a child. So it's like, oh, here I am attracting this again, So anyway, so that's when I went on that deeper trajectory. And then that's when the friend was there telling me, you need to stop being stressed out and slow down. And so she has a knack for coaching. So she started telling me some things to do. And so I was doing that. I was following my own guidance. And so I was working through all this stuff just to heal from this narcissist and the stress. And all of a sudden my stomach got flat. And I was like, what the hell just happened? I mean, I was shocked. I wasn't even working on my stomach at all. My bloat. That is when I went, oh my God, my stomach has been speaking to me this whole time. And I had no idea. It's emotional. It was like a huge light bulb moment for me. And I'm like, nobody teaches you this, right? We go to doctors and we think they don't help, nobody, well, I shouldn't say nobody, but a lot of people don't get very far with that route because you're not getting to the deeper healing, the root of what's going on.
That's crazy. So for 19 years, you tried getting rid of your bloating and your digestive issues. I know you said you weren't like eating a lot. You were eating like rice and veggies, but did you take like supplements and do any sort of diets and all the like stereotypical things people do to quote unquote heal their gut?
And I always ate healthy. So it wasn't that I didn't have a bad diet. I've never had a bad diet. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I always ate healthy. So it wasn't the food, but I did get it down to barely anything because I had zero metabolism too. I had no appetite. Nothing moved through my body, like nothing. I didn't know. I'm like, well, I suppose I should eat. I didn't even have hunger pains because I was so full in there. And so, yeah, I tried all kinds of alternatives. I even went to a cancer clinic in Mexico for 2 weeks because I knew someone that went there. I didn't have cancer, but I thought maybe that'll help me. I mean, I was desperate to get well. Yeah. So I tried, lots and lots of alternatives, a doctor. And it's so funny because when I went there, like, there's no such thing as flora, which is they call microbiome. Now it's the same thing. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I know more about digestion than you, like,
that's concerning.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So you tried you tried everything. You went to Mexico to try to fix this issue that you were experiencing. And I get it, honestly. Like if someone told me when I was suffering my hardest, if you go to Mexico for 2 weeks, you'll be fixed. I'm on the plane, you know?
Right.
When you're in it, you're like, I will do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Just tell me what to do. But
Yeah.
the issue, like you said, is a lot of people don't know what to do because we're handed diets and supplements and clinics and doctors and this specialist and that test and this test. But what it came down to for you was you weren't even working on healing your gut. You were working on healing your trauma, dealing with the emotions and all the impact that that had on you. And that was what got rid of your gut issues, correct?
Yeah. And self-love, like learning self-love. Cause I was like, I remember hearing somebody say, I deeply love myself. And I thought, what does that even mean? Like, I'm like, yeah, I love myself, right? I'm like, out in the world, normal, whatever, it's not like it affected me, but it did internally, but it didn't affect my outside world somewhat, right? Whenever we're holding something, we have masks and all that. But yeah, now I know I deeply love myself. I know what it means. But I mean, we don't even realize how much we reject ourselves and don't love ourselves and beat ourselves up, and the effect. I mean, every thought you have, every emotion goes in your body that fast. And I'll tell you, when I was in the middle of healing, like I had, good days, and sometimes I'd have a few bad days as I'm in the healing process. And one day I was standing there, and that friend was visiting. She wasn't living there anymore. And so we were standing in the kitchen, and I had my phone like sitting, on the countertop. And we were talking, and my phone rang. I looked down, and it was the narcissist. And that fast, my stomach went from flat to bloated. I looked at her, and I'm like pointing like, whoa, look at what just happened. So that's how fast the emotions go in the body. It was instant. Boom.
That's crazy, but it's so true. Like the brain gut connection is real. It's not just something we talk about and say and trying to trick you. It's often the part that is overlooked because people are like, no, I don't need to work on my mental health. I don't need to work on my self-love or self-care. I need a diet. I need a pill because that's what's wrong. It's my gut. But you're so right that it's all connected. And if you think about all the things you tried, because when I look back to my journey, the turning point for me was I was doing restrictive diet after restrictive diet, supplement after supplement.
Yeah.
And I did this for years. I am a very smart individual. Okay. I like to think of myself as very intelligent. So I'm like, Carly, you are smart. You're smarter than this. You are doing the same shit over and over and over again. And it's not working. Stop doing that.
Yeah.
So finally, I clued in and I was like, okay, this isn't working. I've done this for years. We need to do something different. And that is when I stopped obsessing over food. I stopped spending hundreds of dollars on supplements, and I started working on my habits because, like you, I was ignoring some stress that was in the background. I wasn't sleeping all that great. I wasn't getting daily movement in. Like, I wasn't living a balanced life. I was obsessing over the little things that were doing absolutely nothing for me. So when I finally changed my mindset and realized this isn't working, do something else, that is when I resolved my own gut issues as well.
Yeah.
So what would you recommend for people who have tried it all, but they have not focused on the emotional trauma aspect?
I love that. And I just want to speak into for 1 second with the doing the same thing over and over. I say that because probably people are going to the doctor thinking that they're going to get relief. And I bet they've been doing it for years, and it has become chronic now, and you're still doing that. It is. It's like, it's not working. So such a good point to bring up. And then you said, well, sorry, I got the emotions. So I have like different archetypes. Like I've broken down, like sometimes people can be a blocker. It's one of my types. And you're blocking your emotions, you're blocking things in your life because you're protecting yourself from trauma in your past. Sometimes people are a stressor. So you're probably the stressor type. And, so these emotions that you deal with and have not resolved, they're still in the body. You may think you've resolved them, and you know how you know? Just look at your life. Is it the way you want it? Do you get triggered? That's when you know there's something going on. If you get triggered over things, you're trying to keep yourself safe. There's an unhealed wound in there. And so that's an indicator that you've got some emotional healing to do. And then, you know, how our minds can be, right? They can go down a rabbit hole so fast. What are you saying to yourself? Like that affects you also. And so the mind chatter is also a big factor. And that's, you know, part of stress too, because we can make up all kinds of things. And then it's like, oh, didn't mean that, especially as women, you know, our minds can go. It's how we are. We're emotional creatures. Anything from your past, like, you know, childhood, is you take in things. You're like a sponge at a young age, and you learn to, especially if you grew up in a home that wasn't supportive, or maybe abuse, or even if it was a great home, things still happen. And we can make things mean things. And then we carry that wound and it runs your life subconsciously. And so then you're out there in the world. This wound is running subconsciously. You don't know it. And so you're deflecting. I talked about the block. You're deflecting things, not realizing that you're just trying to keep yourself safe. So you're going around doing this, trying to keep yourself safe. Yeah. So it's vital to heal those wounds. And I'll tell you, you have way more control over your health than you have any idea. Way, way, way more control. We're taught we don't, but we do. And I know you agree with me.
Hey everyone, Carly here. If you are tired of feeling bloated and uncomfortable, which I know you are, I have something that can really help. My free ultimate guide to bloat busting. I've been there myself, and I know how frustrating it is to try super restrictive diets and expensive supplements without getting results. If those methods were going to work, they would have worked by now. That's why I created this guide to offer you a different approach. In the ultimate guide to bloat busting, you'll learn techniques to listen to your body and eat with intention, avoiding overeating and choosing foods that truly benefit you, tips for proper hydration to support digestion and reduce bloating, a guide to delicious foods that promote a healthy gut and how to easily incorporate them into your meals, and effective methods to manage stress, which plays a huge role in gut health. These simple, practical strategies can make a big difference in your daily life, helping you feel lighter, more energized, and comfortable in your own skin. Ready to ditch the bloat without strict diets or costly supplements? Download your free copy today at beyondbloated.com/ultimate-guide and start your journey to a bloat-free life. Now, let's get back to it. Yes, I do agree with you. I do not believe you are destined for a certain fate just because your great-grandmother had cancer or something to that degree. Yes, genes play a small role. They mean you are susceptible, but it is diet and lifestyle that turns those genes on and off. So if you live a healthy life, you take care of yourself, you're probably not going to get the cancer that your great-grandmother had because she lived a lot different than you did. So you are in control of your health. You are 100% correct. And now that we know what to look for the external stressors, we know you can't avoid stress. Like I have clients who are very stressed out and they're kind of like, okay, how do I avoid these stressors? So I'm like, you can't. Unless you're going to quit your job and move to Bali, you're going to be stressed. That's the way she goes, and that's totally fine.
Yeah.
It's about how you manage it and how you react to it that matters.
Totally.
For the people out there who were all stressed, so it applies to every single one of us, what would you give as advice to how to handle everyday stressors and how to start moving through those emotions that you're feeling on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah. Great question. So first, know that every day things will never go your way all the time. It's just reality. I mean, on a daily basis, they don't go your way. Some little thing can be minor, probably isn't going to go the way you want it to. So it's like, okay, so accepting that, and it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong or bad. It just is. And I'll give you a story of how I turned around my stress with, so when I was the single mom, I would run home in between. I had 2 part-time jobs. I'd run home in between. I had 5 minutes of change. I was like, I said to my daughter, grab me this, grab me that. No, this one, blah, blah. Like I was like a stressed out tornado coming in for 5 minutes and then leaving. And it's like, oh my God, the effect I probably had on her, I've apologized and all that. But I was telling my friend and she goes, well, do you have to act that way? And I was like, no, I don't. And I literally shifted in that moment to responding versus reacting, like I didn't have to be in a frenzy. You can get something done quickly, but you don't have to be frantic. Actually, I have this, I call it my step away method. And it's literally the first thing that I started doing to start settling my mind and settling my stress. And when my mind started to just, the stress go and all the, like, I would just like step away, go sit somewhere else or whatever, and just sit there for a minute to quiet my mind. I won't go too deep into all that, but you're at a choice point. And so starting to be aware what's stressing me and just pull yourself back and take a breath before you respond can be helpful. And just notice, where am I doing it? Why am I doing that? Oh, I'm trying to keep myself safe maybe, or, well, they did this, they did that, well, maybe they did, but really what you have a choice in responding to what they did, because it's always inside of you. It's a wound in you. So to be careful not to be blaming others. And it's so easy. People do it all day long, just to really step back and take a breath and see, what is it that this is showing me? Why am I reacting this way? It's self-reflection, and you can learn more about yourself that way. And it could be just a habit. Like you talked about with habits. It could be just a habit you learned as a kid. And you're like, oh my God, I'm just like my mom or my dad. We do this. It's a habit. And then you can slowly step back out of that habit and make shifts.
It sounds like the first step is kind of self-awareness, noticing how you're reacting to certain things, what your triggers are. And once you're aware of those things, you can kind of start to make mental shifts and be like, do I need to react that way? Is there a better way for me to react? Or why is this triggering me? And kind of work through that. So it's a process, of course. Like, how long do you say this took you to work through? I mean, you obviously went through a lot, and I appreciate you sharing that with everyone today. For like a lifetime of trauma, when you really started to focus in and start working on yourself, how long would you say it took you approximately to see some relief in your symptoms?
Yeah, it probably took me maybe 8-9 months. I literally she was giving me the ideas and I was figuring things out on my own. So I didn't really have that. I had some guidance. It wasn't like somebody like you or me walking me through the steps. So,
I mean, even 8 or 9 months to resolve a lifetime of trauma is amazing.
Yeah.
Sometimes we get people who walk in and they're like, okay, I want this fixed today. Let's go. It's like,
well, and there's layers, right? I've worked on layers since then. I just want to be clear about that too. Another layer of it.
And I always say, like, it's ongoing too. I'm sure you still work on yourself every single day. You don't throw those habits away once you've resolved your gut issues, because it was your old lifestyle that brought them on. So you actually have to continue living that way. You are not going to resolve 19 years of gut issues overnight and then just go back to your old life. It is ongoing. We are always improving. We are always implementing the habits that we learn and keeping them, because that is what's going to keep you feeling good. And honestly, once you have those habits in place and you feel good, you don't want to stop doing them. You like the way you live.
There's no
you feel amazing. So it isn't as hard as it sounds, but you're right. When you have support from someone who has been there, like we have, it goes a lot smoother. So with that, could you please let everybody know how you work with women and where they can reach you?
So yeah, I work with them. I typically, well, depends on somebody's severity. So we work together for a period of time to help them with their symptoms. And one of the things that I do is have them figure out what type they are, because depending on the type they are, there's like a protocol for that type based on what happened to you throughout your life. And I say happened to you because sometimes we think we're broken or we're, damaged. It's like, no, this happened. You responded, and then you can heal it. But yeah, so I help them to heal those chronic health issues step by step. It's hard to say because it just depends on, I do a call with them basically, and we figure out, well, what is it that could be causing this? And then I'll know from there, like what they'll do, what I'll do with them and how I'll help them. But you have the control. You just need the steps to create the kind of body you want, the kind of health you want, and heal those chronic health issues, because they're not going to go away on their own. They're just not, because they need to be addressed. And so we go deeper into those emotions and heal them. It's the only way, it really is not the only. I mean, of course, you don't want to be eating McDonald's burgers and things that make your body crazy, but the healing, you've got to heal. You've just got to heal it, if you want relief, because it's not just going to, like I said, it's not going to go away on its own.
No, it does not go away on its own. And anybody listening to this probably knows that. They have probably tried a lot, but I bet they haven't tried working on managing their stress, healing their trauma, really sitting with themselves and going through the emotions, going through the impact of what that had on their life. If you're listening and you would love some support with that, Jodi has walked the walk. She has come out the other side. She has an incredible story, which I greatly appreciate you sharing with us today. And I'm so happy that you're feeling so much better and you've healed and you're thriving. And now you're sharing that with other women, which is so incredible. You're helping people who have been where you are, which in my opinion is the best kind of help, because you can read about shit in a textbook all day long, but it is a completely different experience to have lived it, come out the other side, and now help someone do the same. Please let us know where we can find you.
Yeah. And I was gonna say, you can have a healthy body you love for life. You really, really can. And one more thing is, you're working on healing the body, but other things in your life will shift too. Your relationships will shift, because you will shift your resonance, because when you heal those wounds, you shift your vibration. And so like a man, like the narcissist, abusive, would never show up in my space. I do not resonate on that level anymore. So shifting energetically, because we are energy and everything's energy, is the key too. This is why. So anyway, I just wanted to add that, because I think it's important to know that that's how you don't go back. You just don't. Once you shift, you can't go back. You just don't.
I love that. You attract what you put out there, right? That's how the saying goes. And it's true, If you work towards something and you manifest it, you can have it. You can have the life, the body you want, the relationships you want. It's all yours. You just got to go out and get it.
Yep. So Peace of My Heart, like peace, P-E-A-C-E, peaceofmyheart.net/quiz will give you, you can take that quiz and see what type you are. And then from there, you can book a call with me.
Amazing. Yeah. Okay, well, I will link that in the show notes for everyone so they can go figure out their type. Everyone loves a good quiz, so I love that. Thank you so much for sharing with us today and all of this amazing insight. Please go check out Jodi's website. Are you on Instagram?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so I'll link all that. Go check her out. And yeah, thank you so much, Jodi. This has been very eye-opening, and I'm sure this is going to help a lot of people. So thank you.
Thank you.
Did you learn something new and useful today? If the answer is a big, resounding hell yeah, do me a favor. Subscribe to this podcast. Even better, toss a rating in there too. It helps more bloated babes discover this show and lets me keep bringing you this free, gut-loving content every single week. And hey, don't be greedy. Share this episode with your bestie who's always unbuttoning her pants after dinner. She will love you even more for it. Thanks for hanging out with me and showing your gut some love. Keep on putting what you learn into practice, and you will be bloat free in no time. Catch you in the next one. Bye.